I'm Leah Tyndale, and this is Note to Self, and welcome back for another amazing episode. And my guest today, I'm very excited for our conversation because he's a man of mystery.
Oh,
So,
I didn't know that I was mysterious.
you are very mysterious,
Sorry,
Scotty.
I shouldn't speak before I've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
introduced.
yeah. Be quiet. Let's talk about my guest today, who is Scotty. He is the amazing workday presenter for HIT in the southwest of Western Australia. So if you're listening from globally, it's even more remote than Perth. Like if Perth is the most isolated city of the world, we live here
A little
even
further
more.
from that.
Yeah.
If you're listening remotely, very famous, by the way. The
Yeah.
big deal to be on the podcast today. No, yeah, as about remote as it gets. But this particular area of this very remote area of the country we live in has always been the dream to broadcast to this space.
Oh, really?
'Cause this is where I grew up. Yeah, always have a deep love and affection
Oh.
for our very, very isolated WA and our particular southwest region of it. So it's a dream to be broadcasting to the southwest every day.
And you do such a great job. Like it's funny because I think a lot of people think radio hosts, people working in media, we can be quite gregarious, big personalities. That's sort of true for me in some aspects. But for you, Scotty, I feel like this is why you are mysterious, because you're very quiet. I don't really know if you're an introvert or an extrovert. I'm going to say you're an introvert. This is probably a lot now. You're being filmed by me and having to talk, not just to, an empty room.
Yeah, sure.
But how do you deal with such a job that is meant, I suppose, seemingly to be extroverted?
So I'd been broadcasting for 5 years, but I've been in the radio space for closer to 7 or 8. And only in the last few years have I realized that what I am doing is a very extroverted thing, because I was just so deeply in love with this medium and so desperate to be in it. It all kind of lined up away from the spotlight, away from the extroversion factor, but getting to meet and speak with interesting people, talk about my favorite thing in the world, which is music, and getting to be a little bit of a know-it-all on the air as well, which I love to do. So all that, it's just within the last few years, because when I first joined radio was in the middle of, at the very start of COVID. So we weren't doing so many outside broadcasts so much. It was still, to me, an introverted space. I knew that I was speaking to a lot of people, but because I was able to do it in my own way, I knew that it was the way that it was presented was going to be fine.
Yeah.
And for me, the introversion and extroversion thing is aligned with how you deal with anxiety and whether you suffer from anxiety. So for me, who suffers deeply with anxiety, because I can control that space, I knew that even though I was doing something extroverted, I was controlling it. I was putting out what I loved, what I thought was good work. So therefore other people might likely think it's good work. I just will refuse to put out anything that I don't think is good work because of the anxiety of dealing with that and having an expectation not met. When it comes to whether or not I'm mysterious,
you are so mysterious.
I think it's just more of a case of me being quiet. Yeah, within only the last few years have I realized that what I'm doing is an extroverted thing because of the outside broadcast, because of now I'm getting asked more to MC local events and whatnot. And how I've been coping with that is kind of what I'm going to be talking with you about today.
So take me through more of Scotty, the man, the mystery. Because, I know, obviously, we've talked about the anxiety stuff briefly, but you, I feel like, have gone on a journey, especially over this last year, I feel like, to finding your own voice more and more. And that's been sort of a theme that's kind of popped up for this season for me already, is like living your most, I hate this cliche sentence, but living your most authentic life and being the full version.
It's not even cliche. It's good. It's good. It's worth shouting from the rooftops. Yes, being authentic is so important. And I am on a little bit of a journey at the moment. I'm on a self-betterment journey. I've not been happy with where I've been mentally for a long time. Where I've been physically has become part of why I had been struggling mentally. And it's only been in the last few months when I've really put the foot down and said, I need to change environment. I need to change my mental state. And that's all going to come together to make a better me. And going into 2026, a lot of people were feeling the same way. Last year, I particularly felt like because of where my mental state and health was feeling like it was deteriorating through a lot of external factors, that did come to work as well.
Yeah.
Not so like I was putting out bad work or whatever. It's just that I wasn't pushing myself to go that extra mile, which you need to for a job like this. And I felt like I wasn't present with the office itself. We were working from home a lot of last year, but even then, it had been a long-running joke for many years that Scotty is the one that will pull out last second of a late lunch and not show. Things like that. That's anxiety. That's just that's just me just being like, I'd rather just be home so I can just be in my own
Yeah,
space.
it's safer.
Yeah.
Mm.
However, the reason why I'm so dedicated to making a change now is because that safe space was taken from me also.
Yeah.
The home environment no longer became a spot where I did feel safe or comfortable in any way. And what was a weekend of like, oh, I'll be at home and I have no plans. And that's great because I'm an introvert and maybe a movie just came out or a video game that came out that I'm keen to play, and that'll be fun. That used to be the case. What it then became was that movie's coming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say no to everything else. And I'm going to have that weekend by myself with the blinds drawn
Mm.
so that the entire environment is as dark as possible. I'll use that'll break the sound from outside as well. That will always be going on because we had terrible neighbors, very aggressive, violent neighbors. And I will watch that movie and I'll also drink the entire time as well, to also take the edge off because I'm so desperately looking for that optimism or like happiness that I'll chase that through maximizing what I think I enjoy, which is being away from it all, being under the influence and enjoying what it is that I'm enjoying, if that's a movie or a new album came out or a video game. And when I realized that I was in that deep, was this desperately needs to change. I am drinking myself to death. I am very happy to put on record, hands up, alcoholic, a genuine alcoholic, and have been sober now for about 280 days. Thank you.
Well done.
280 days. It was day 200 on the dot, which was also, I'm doxing myself here. I'm putting my own information out here on the internet for all to know. But my birthday is the 1st of January.
Yeah.
So on the 1st of January, I was staying at your house.
Oh, yeah, you were.
We'll talk about that. I was staying at yours. It was the day that I was moving to a new space in a new town, the town that we work in. I currently had lived just about 45 minutes away. So getting to work was always another struggle as well. But on that 1st of January, it just happened to be the day that I was moving into this new place. It was day 200 exactly of my sobriety. And it was the beginning of the new year. So I was like, this needs to be the serendipitous moment. At that point, I'd already made the plans to move and all that. But like when I realized that it was those three factors all coming together at once, it's like this 2026 needs to be a special year for me. And that needs to be pursued. That needs to be driven. That needs to be actionable by myself. I can't just coax through it. So that's where I'm at.
Scotty, that's really huge. And you're going to make me emotional cry, but I'm really, really honored that you would share that with me in this space. And I think you should be so proud of yourself. And I really hope you are.
Thanks, mate.
Because like I was not expecting so much vulnerability from you. And I'm like, that's huge. That is huge. Like,
thanks.
yeah.
It's I'll help you out here, Leah.
I'm not used to crying so much.
Yeah, look, I've been for the longest time just feeling dissatisfied, and the alcohol had been creeping up for a while, just getting more and more use, becoming a daily thing, drinking at terrible hours. But for the longest time, there were years leading up to that where I just felt like, even when I was still in production, working here, I remember there being a very particular day when I was in the car park outside of the office here, and I wrote on my phone a plan for what I wanted to call my wake up project, which was just literally working my way to becoming more aware of the surroundings around me, just less like my eyes glazed over always, whether that be because I've had a drink earlier in the day or because I'm just super tired. I'm just not having myself be put out there, to just work my way towards waking up, literally being more aware of my surroundings, literally having clearer vision and just being in the moment. And that was that would have been like 2020 or 2021 when I first joined here. So it's been a long process to really being able to action anything. And I think that's what I'll get to with my note to self.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can't wait till we get to there. I feel like you've shared so much already. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? There's such a view that when you like decide to have a transformation or you want to become different to whoever you are, and yeah, when you did write that note to yourself all that time ago.
This is actually my podcast.
I
did this 2021 apparently.
You're original. I like that, OG. But like you do that and you think that the transformation is going to be, oh yeah, in a year, and sometimes that does happen. Like, yes, there are circumstances but sometimes I think it is a gradual chipping away, and then you more likely, like you're on the roller coaster and you ebb and you flow, and then giving yourself the grace to do the ebbing and the flowing, which I think is also hard because like, if you're a perfectionist, if you are struggled with anxiety, you're already very cruel to yourself. And so the fact that you haven't done anything in 6 months or this week or whatever, so I think that's a huge thing as well, to be able to be like, okay, and see that journey from 6 years ago to now, like all the little wins that you've had to get you to this huge win, which is only going to set you up now, I reckon, for more and more. The momentum starts building.
Yes.
Which is like, man, I'm so stoked for you.
Because we just determined that this is my OG podcast.
Yeah, great.
Can I make the executive call and reveal my note to self right now?
You can, yeah, sure.
Okay. Because you just spoke on it very, very well. I just think it's a good way to continue. So my note to self is to take the time to find the right balance for you. You just spoke on it then where, okay, maybe in a year from now I'll be here, and after this many months you're already dissatisfied. That's how I have been living these last 5 or 6 years, is that I was constantly moving how I was treating myself, my body, whether that was through the absolute deepest depths of halfway through last year where the drinking was 24/7, it felt like, and just absolutely nowhere, really, really struggling, to only 8 months earlier than that, I had completed a fitness challenge called 75 Hard. That is...
I feel like I remember you doing that.
Yeah, it would have been during your time here. So that was... And I was feeling great. That involved no alcohol. That was part of it. But also it was insane. It was 2 45-minute workouts a day.
Oh my God.
You needed to... It was ridiculous. It was like 4 or 5 liters of water every day. You needed to had 30 pages of a nonfiction book, and it had to be self-help. And it was all these like particular rules, and I followed them to you had to take a photo every single day, and people would like...
What the heck?
To like track yourself, to track your projects. It's not nice. No. That's the thing. It's
like bullying yourself.
Well, what they would say is like it's a reset for yourself, and that was what I was deeply looking for at that time. And I was like, okay, if I can teach myself these like really like intense habits, then maybe they will stick.
Yeah.
No, because you ebb and flow naturally in life. So my note to self is to take the time to work out what balance is for you. And if you think that you are balanced right now, make the time to reevaluate and just see what's best. So for me, those very deep, dark depths, and also the complete opposite of a fitness challenge of 2 45-minute workouts a day, my goal that I've been trying to search for 5 years is to find the balance
Mm.
for myself.
Mm.
That way, I will reduce drinking. It won't be a problem, nor will it be something that I need to fully stop, which is where I am now.
Yes.
Fully stop. And feel better about yourself because you'll be working out a little bit more. That just find balance.
Mm.
It's going to be different for everyone. But if you make the time to find out what works best for you, you'll be able to, as we were talking about before, consistency is key. That consistency will be found through the balance that you have sought after.
Yeah. I mean, balance is how do you think you know when you're balanced? Because I feel like that also feels a bit like that feels lofty.
I'll let you know when I get there.
But you've got things that you're like, okay, that would be a halfway point between what I'm doing now and where I would like to be. And so is that sort of what you're setting yourself up to move towards as your first?
Totally. It's just, for me, about finding what works and keeps me happy. Because the best of the fitness challenge was how good it made me feel and achieving those goals. And I'm still able to tick boxes off and achieve goals and feel good about myself by going to the gym this many times a week or whatever. That could be twice for some people, or it could be 5 times for other. Find the balance for yourself, but there is a balance for everyone. And you don't need to go from 2 extremes like I did multiple times, bouncing from the depths to the challenges to falling back down, up again. For me, 2026 is all about finding the consistency in the balance and finding it for my own soul.
You're doing very well, I think, so far. Do you feel like you're chipping away nicely?
Yes and no. I would have said yes 100%, except for a bit of a peek behind the podcast's curtain here.
Yeah.
We had moved this chat a few times.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
That's okay. That's absolutely okay, because it gives me a different answer for this question.
Sure.
I just spent the last 24 hours at the old home that I had moved from. Those terrible neighbors are still there. As soon as I pulled up, I felt like I did this time last year.
Yeah, right.
It had not moved at all, which is both, for me, it's proof that I feel so much better in this new place and I'm doing so much better now over these last few months. But it's also proof to me that I haven't got that, that super mental clarity. How do I want to word this? I think I was thinking that the next time I was going to go back home, I was going to be that woken up version of myself.
Sure.
It's only been a few months, but I did go back there and I was like, oh, the house still looks the same as it was. The neighbors are still crazy. I've progressed in my own spirit, but I would still struggle to be here right now.
Yes.
This is still the right decision for me to be on this journey, and I am still in the beginning phases of that journey. So I do think that I have made a heap of progress, and actually being able to really see that by going back to what I was running from, super beneficial.
Yeah. And I think there will always be, unfortunately, things that are triggers of your old self. Knowing, okay, what else was it in that situation? Obviously, yeah, you had external factors, but so that you can either make sure you don't ever have them again. But then I could just keep thinking about with my own journey with anxiety. Like, I don't like flying. I'm a terrible flyer.
Yeah, okay.
And every time I think about flying, it's so good. But then it's like, I suppose the only way I feel like I'd probably go, oh, I'm not progressing. But like each time, like I build a coping mechanism for the thing that you have to do anyway. And not to say that you'll ever be back, hopefully, in a place like that that causes you so much grief. Even recognizing what it's doing to you, I think, is a really great, helpful thing. Like, I've got a flight that I wonderfully won that I'm going to on Tuesday. But already yesterday, the anxiety of that flight started
Yeah.
clocking in.
I get it.
And today I was feeling like all discombobulated. And so having to then be like, okay, I know that's why now I'm anxious. So then what am I going to do about it? And obviously it's a very different situation. I feel like mine is flying is a very short-lived experience compared to, going back. Maybe like having that as what you're looking out for, like even what you've noticed. I could notice the difference in myself is just like recognizing the little wins and allowing yourself as well to pat yourself on the back. Like you say, you would have loved to have gone back to that house only when you were like, oh, look at me, I'm so amazing.
I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do to make yourself feel better in moments of anxiety. For you, it's the stuff that you can do for the plane. For me, it was leaving a whole house to help myself with that anxiety. I struggle with giving advice for anxiety and for this because like I was super lucky that the opportunity came for me to move. It was, the opportunity came, I forced it to happen. As in, I was like, absolutely, I need to go as soon as possible. And I just opened every door that I possibly could to find something that worked for me and happened to land in this very, very perfect spot for me. And that's a great way to push myself further on a journey that I have begun. But I struggle with helping with advice. For me, my personal scenario was I needed to move and it was a really big deal. And a lot of people are going through their own anxieties and it can be a big move that's required or a small, tiny change. That's why I think that searching for the balance is so important and taking the actual time to give yourself the hours in the day to just check, how can I reposition where I am right now to be better? I don't need to change anything. I mean, I don't need to add or remove anything from my life, but how can I reposition this balance to be better suited for myself and my own anxiety?
I think you also nailed something on the head there, which I don't think people talk about much when it comes to anxiety and things. But you mentioned at the beginning is you made the move happen. Like you pushed on all the doors. And for people with anxiety, like, well, I can speak probably from you and my experience, but I feel like for a lot of people, that's the part that we don't do. But then you get to a point where either things are so bad that you're like, nothing can be worse than this already is. So I have to do something about it, even though doing something about it costs me so much.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a very, very important thing to note because, like, with me leaving my ex-husband, with starting a job in radio, starting this podcast, putting up my hand to kind of be like, I want to do this. I want to talk to that person. Last year, our boss took me through a long journey of being able to call higher up executives just to check in because I was so crippled,
I think is right.
Grappled?
Grappled also works.
Yeah, okay, great. Either of those. But with fear that I would say the wrong thing or I'd disappoint them and that would just trigger off a whole lot of anxieties. But I got to the point where I was like, well, if I want to not be in this same spot in a year, in 5 years' time, then I have to make that happen and push myself. And it's so far like the doors opening has been like, what?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And you're always quite surprised.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it didn't, like the cost for you to speak up and say, I need help. I need someone to help me get out of here.
Yeah.
And even like for me, knowing that you needed somewhere that you like to live over while we were away for 2 weeks, I was like, yeah, of course. Like no one's going to be here anyway. It was easy to help you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I get like that in my head too, where I'm like, well, no, I don't want to be a bother. And you're so overwhelmed with your anxieties and shouldn't, and you get in your own head. But then the other person, to them, it's an easy yes.
Yeah, it's just why didn't you just go do that?
Yeah. And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Why didn't you just send that email?
Yeah. And we don't know. Like the pushing yourself, did you feel like that cost you?
Yeah, for me, it got to the point where I was forcing open all these doors and windows, looking for any opportunity I could to escape from where I was. Because for me, it was just the end of the line for me.
Yeah.
Like I was completely at wit's end and I couldn't handle it anymore. There was a change that needed to be done. And for me, it was that physical move. And that's why I was saying before that I struggle with giving the advice because it's so dependent on your own personal situation. And for me, it was what changed my mental state was something that I always kind of was pushing towards, which was a big move, but it was always so far away and such a big move that I kept pushing it back, and that prolonged my experience. And I pushed it back further because I couldn't financially, and that prolonged my experience. Because for me, for years and years and years, the move was always going to be like the trigger event that was going to make me feel better going forward. Like I knew that I wasn't happy in that space, even though it's gotten worse over the last year. But where I was staying for these last 5 years since I've been working here, I always knew that I wanted to get away, and that was going to be the beginning of a betterment journey. For me, it took 6 years to get to that point, and I feel odd saying, oh, this is what I did, is I left. Because there are so many people that are on that same journey as I was that hasn't hit that 6th year where they can, and it's possible. For me, it was that move, and I was always planning on the move being the change. I wish that I could have done it so much sooner, and there are so many things that I could have done to have made my own depression, my own mental health so much better that I didn't do because of those elements, that I wish that I had a better answer for those first few years. That's why I planned that wake up project, which would have been the first thing on the list, would have been start fresh, which includes moving. Moving is such a difficult thing and impossible for most people. We're all stuck in where we are, really, unless if you're in that lucky 0.5% where you're flexible enough to make a change, which is where I was at the end of last year, and I took that opportunity. It's been such a long journey from me. Those first 5 years, I wish that I had the advice on how to get better during those stages. But for me, I can only speak on my journey, which has been the physical, the sea change has really, really helped. There are so many people that are stuck in a home, whether they're stuck there because of finances, whether they're stuck there because of they're with a partner who will not move, that I wish that I was able to give better advice on how to overcome this deep, deep sadness that they could be feeling, that I had been feeling for so long. But I don't have it because I went through it and I didn't have the answer until where I got to 6 years later, which was a sea change and a proper fresh start.
I feel like that is okay though, because obviously should do a disclaimer. We're not trying to give professional health advice or anything like that. We're still figuring things out. But I think it's always nice to see people on the other side and to have hope. And all that I ever hope from this podcast and chatting to people is that people will feel encouraged and feel a bit of hope. And sure, like that might mean that their sea change is not, for another 5 years. I always think and encourage people, if all you can do in your space that you're in right now is like as simple as going and standing in the sun, like instead of being in your closed house for a minute before maybe you are just exhausted and you go back to bed, but you do that every day and that's all you can do, then that is a huge win.
Yeah.
And I think, and that is a sea change. And so we don't have to have these big things. Like I was married for 10 years. I often think, like I should have seen what was going on earlier, but you're also so optimistic that other things will change. You think your surroundings might change first, like through external factors sometimes. Well, I did, before you end up making a decision to change. All that you have shared is just encouraging, and I'm sure will be a glimmer of hope for someone that even if they're not in it right now, that there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
There is. Search for the balance to find that light.
Yeah, yes. I like that. And that's what, it comes back to your note to self. I'd love to also finish to close with then what's next for you, Scotty? Like what's, whether that is, personally, I am also invested in your professional life. And so I'm like, what email are you going to send, Scotty?
Wow. No, for me, I think my my personal goals for 2026 is to kind of get back to that feeling of head above water, being the true, authentic self. It's not a cliche,
Yeah.
it's a real thing. To be my true, authentic self. And I was always an outgoing and happy-go-lucky person.
Mm.
I had completely lost that in the last few years. So my 2026 goal is to find my authentic self again. I used to, even during this period, this 5-year period of my life, at the beginning of that, there was a lot of MC gigs that I was doing, public facing, away from work, hosting events. It was still very an extroverted thing that I was doing. And the issues and the worries of the last few years had crept in, that I had pulled myself away from that. I'd completely cut myself off from it. So 2026 is about getting back there, getting back to feeling happy, confident, and to make it all full circle, to feel like I'm awake.
Yeah, amazing. Well, if you need an MC, Scotty is available.
Let's say after like August.
Yeah,
Let's give me a few months.
You're like, don't throw me in the deep end now.
I'm not ready.
Yeah. I feel this is very weirdly familiar somehow. Well, I am so grateful, for you sharing and being so vulnerable. I'm excited to see where you go this year, and whether that's in baby steps or in big leaps. Like, it's all absolutely tremendous, and you should be, patting yourself on the back, and you've got so many people cheering you on. And thank you so much for sharing so much of your time with me.
Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Enjoying it, yes.
Thank you
it is
for
great.
enjoying my chat.